Normally we start with ACC teams, but let's start with the big one. Ohio State, Penn State. Penn State goes to Ohio State, going to be tough. Road conference games late in the season is going to be tough to win. What are your thoughts about that game?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it just really doesn't seem like Penn State can hang in this game. Obviously, you've got Ohio State is the number 2 team in the country, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism there. I think it's a lot different than the Ohio State teams we've seen in the past. I really think they're a much better team this year. That's just a big number for a rivalry game, especially when Penn State is a respectable team this year. I mean, heck, they were ranked number 4, just a couple short weeks ago. And I think this is Penn State's only hope to jump back into the playoff picture somehow if they can win this game and, win the championship in the Big Ten. So I think they can keep this game close enough just to make Ohio State uncomfortable, which they have not been in quite a while. So I'm going to take the Nittany Lions to cover with the 18.
Oh, wow. I wasn't thinking you were going to go with that. I'm picking Ohio State to come out and destroy them. I think Penn State is one of those teams that Clemson needs on their schedule because they're one of those teams that because of who they are, they get ranked early on in the season high, and they seem to just always stay there. If the ACC just had a few teams that could be 8-win teams, just had a few teams, and I'm not talking like 8-win by the end of the year. I'm talking about like 8 wins early on, like early 8-win teams, and Clemson played them. Then that's what Clemson needs. I mean, if Penn State was in the Coastal, you wouldn't be able to tell them any different than any other team over there. This is going to be a team where Ohio State's going to be able to say, oh, we beat a top 10 team. It's going to be great. I get it, but Penn State's not a top 10 team in my eyes. I think that they're easily beatable by any elite team. Ohio State's an elite team. Clemson's an elite team. I'm going with the blowout on this one, Al. Like I said, it's going to be like Ohio State playing an average Coastal team. So give me Ohio State covering the 18. I know that's a big point difference here late in the season, but they are at home, so I'm giving them that too. At home, you got to give them a touchdown, I think.
That's fair.
And then, I think they're definitely better than Penn State, so I'm going to say that. Moving back to the ACC, kind of more traditional, starting off with a Thursday night game. It seems like NC State, Georgia Tech play Thursday night games like every week, but NC State at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech minus 1.5. I kind of scratched my head on that one. Georgia Tech minus 1.5. What you got?
Look, I'm taking the Yellow Jackets minus the 1.5. They've been playing better ball as of late. I think NC State is just in absolute shambles. So I'm definitely going to go with the Yellow Jackets and Jeff Collins to kind of take the win here, maybe by a touchdown or so, and kind of get the Jackets on, trying to get on the right foot starting into next season.
I'm going against you on this one too. I think that NC State can do just enough. Give me the points, 1.5. Next up is Liberty at Virginia. This is one that I think everybody's expecting. This is one of the 3 last games for Virginia that is a home game, so it's a good lineup for Virginia. But UVA minus 18.5. I think UVA can win, but can they win by more than 18.5?
Yeah, Liberty's kind of shown the propensity to score some points this year. The Cavaliers need to be careful kind of looking ahead to next week's matchup against the Hokies. But in the end, I think they're just too much for Liberty, and I'm going to take Virginia minus the points.
I'm taking actually Liberty on this one. Liberty is giving up a lot of yards, so I know Virginia's going to score on them. But Virginia's kind of played some tough games recently, and I know that Liberty can actually score. I'm gonna go out on a limb on this one. I'm gonna say that Virginia wins but doesn't cover. So give me Liberty plus the points on this one. Next up, Boston College at number 15, Notre Dame. Notre Dame minus 19. A.J. Dillon's over or almost 1,500 yards rushing this year and 13 touchdowns, so a bright spot for BC. Do you think that they have enough to keep it within the 19 or maybe even win the game?
I don't. The Fighting Irish kind of had a big statement win last week against a ranked Navy team when they absolutely drilled Navy. I believe the line was minus 9.5 last week or 7.5 or something like that. It was one of the ones you not so fasted me on, by the way, during the pick segment when you went with Navy. And obviously a huge cover for Notre Dame. So, a lot of people thought they had a chance to pull an upset. Navy was kind of, in that range where a lot of people thought they kind of had something for them, and that just wasn't the case. So, give me Notre Dame with a big win over an inferior Boston College team. I'm taking the Fighting Irish minus the 19.
Yeah, really got me on that one, Al. I'm going to have to say my veterans over there, my Navy guys, the seamen, didn't they let me down and, just disappointed me, just destroyed. I went 16-6-1 all over the weekend. You went 17-5-1. I'm actually going with Boston College on this one too. I gotta make some big moves, man. There's only 2 weeks left. This week and next week, and then it's over. I have no other chance. So you're about, I think, what was it? How many are you ahead of me? 8. Maybe. You're 8 ahead of me. So I got to win some games. I can't pick the same teams you're picking because it's not going to work for me with 2 weeks left. So I'm going with this. Again, I'm going Boston College plus the 19. I think that BC can control the clock enough with that giant run game that they have. They definitely can't stop anybody. I'm not saying anything about their defense, but I think they can control the clock. Next up, North Carolina or Mercer at North Carolina. It's off. We already talked about Sam Howell. Moving on from that. Syracuse at Louisville. Louisville minus 8.5. I think this is closer because of how well Syracuse did against Duke. What you think?
Look, Syracuse absolutely crushed the Blue Devils last week, like we talked about, on the road, but that's kind of been the exception rather than the rule this year. The Orange have not kind of lived up to the preseason hype they had. I'm not saying, people thought they were going to be a top 10 team or anything like that, but they were expected to have a good year. That's not happened. I'm looking for Syracuse to fall back off the cliff. Give me Louisville minus the points.
All right. I'm with you on this one. I think Syracuse, DeVito had a great game. Didn't really have that many passing yards. 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Louisville, think about this, Al. 2 wins last year. Could be on pace to win 8 games this year. What a turnaround.
Yeah.
Is Louisville's coach, Scott Satterfield, the coach of the year, or is Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech the coach of the year? That's my question. Who is the coach of the year in your eyes? I'm going with Scott.
I am as well. Yeah, I think they were supposed to be just an absolute atrocity this year. After last year, I mean, they were one of the worst teams around in the entire country. And I'm really impressed with what Satterfield's done there. I think he's going to have a lot of people come calling for him at the end of this year.
I take Louisville to cover. Next up, Miami at Florida International. Interesting, Miami at Florida International. Miami giving 18.5 at Marlins Park. They're used to that park there. Also, Florida International's coach, Butch Davis.
Yeah, although Miami, like so many of the coastal teams, has been impossible to figure out this year, I think there's simply too big a talent gap to kind of mess this one up. Miami's defense will lead the way in a big win over Florida International. I'm going to take the Hurricanes minus the points.
I gotta take some risks. I see that double-digit spread, and I'm like, give me it. So, as you noticed, I didn't take the single-digit spread. I took the double-digit before. I'm taking it again. Give me FIU plus 18.5, if nothing more than the fact that the quarterback's last name is Morgan.
Oh, even worse.
You got to go with that, baby. He is a winner. You know it. You can't deny it. So I'm going with him, 18.5. Duke at Wake Forest. Wake minus 6.5. It's kind of hard to say. Duke has completely went stupid with their offense. Don't know what to do. David Cutcliffe came out and said it's going to take more than a week to figure this out. He said he's going to have to go back to the drawing board and start reading books on offense to try to figure this out. I mean, when a head coach starts saying he's going to have to go to the library to fix this offense, and maybe Duke's the best library to go to.
Yeah.
But Wake minus 6.5, even with all of their injuries. What do you think?
Look, yeah, even without Sage Surratt, which is a great player for Wake, I really was looking forward to seeing the test that he was going to bring with Washington as well as Hinton to the receiving corps to Clemson. Obviously, we didn't get to see that this past week. But even with those injuries, there's no way I'm betting on this Duke team the way they've looked down the stretch run. They have really disappointed me. I bet on them early in the season, and they did well for me. I've been betting on them at the end, and they've really been making me come out on the bad end of things. So I'm not even going anywhere near Duke. I am taking Wake to cover.
2 just really badly bruised up, beat up teams. Makes you very thankful for what Clemson has been able to do. But I think Wake is going to recover at home after that beat up from Clemson and give me Wake to win and cover the 6.5. Last ACC game of the night. This is the one that we kind of wanted to get into a little bit further. Pittsburgh at number 25, Virginia Tech. Looks like Virginia Tech is minus 3 right now. So the favorite at home, which I think you'd be expected there. Pittsburgh has that better rushing defense, but it is at Lane Stadium. And man, Bud Foster is about to go out on fire in his farewell season. What you think?
Yeah, like I've mentioned recently, I'm begrudgingly high on the Hokies right now. I really liked it when I could hate them early in the year, and I could pick them to kind of be closer games with Furman and things like that in Old Dominion, and kind of beat them with the spread there, kind of like you did, the double-digit spreads. I like the underdog there. I was doing that earlier in the year, and it was really working out for me, but they've been playing a lot better ball. They know they have to win at home this week and beat the Cavaliers, and they're in. Okay, all they got to do is win the next 2 games. They are the Coastal champions. All right, so I'm gonna roll with Virginia Tech here. Say they get it done. I'm gonna take them not only to win but to cover the 3 points.
I really feel like both teams have a chance to win the Coastal. You can't sleep on Pittsburgh. They could win and still get in. I mean, they're not in control of everything, but they could still win out and have a chance to get into that championship game. When it comes to a tiebreaker, don't even ask me. Don't even ask me because my head starts to hurt. I thought about it this morning and I can't do it, but I think Virginia Tech wins. I'm not so sure that they win by 3, even 3. I think it's going to be close, might even be an overtime game. I think it's going to be like a 1 or 2 point win for Virginia Tech, but Pitt covers, so give me Pitt. We talked about Penn State, Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Really, the only other ranked versus ranked is that one team that Clemson used to get knocked on for not being ranked, but now is ranked. So you've got 24 Texas A&M at number 4, the Dogs, Georgia Bulldogs, UGA minus 13.5 starting out the gate. Offense still trying to figure things out. It's late in the season. Doesn't seem to be very explosive like we anticipated, but their defense has been pretty stout. So Texas A&M, on the other hand, they've quietly won now. They're 7-3, but they have 2 really tough last games of the year. They've got to go to Georgia this weekend, and then they've got to turn around and go to LSU. Yeah. So it's not going to be fun to be a Texas A&M fan or player. You're going to get beat up these next 2 weeks. But what you got in this game?
Look, I want all the UGA fans to pay attention right now and take notice of what I'm about to say. All right, I will never utter the words that you said last show, okay? All right, but I am taking them to cover. I think their defense is going to be too much for the Aggies. I think they'll muster just enough offense to kind of be comfortable going down the stretch of that game. I'm taking the Dogs minus the points at home.
This is a game that Georgia, I think, is going to be focused on. They know now that Alabama is Tua-less. They're seeing what's going on. They kind of have their eyes set on LSU. They know that they're in control. They own the SEC East. And you know what I love to say? They have a better rushing defense than Texas A&M. Texas A&M really doesn't have any rushing game at all. And it's at home. Now we know Georgia likes to have problems when they're at home against inferior teams, as we saw earlier in the year. And I know what you're telling me. I already see it. I just glanced. They lost to the Gamecocks at home. But this is championship season right now. This is championship phase. Separation Saturday, as my dad likes to say. Big dogs are playing. And I believe Georgia takes care of business in this sense. I think they're going to beat Texas A&M and cover the spread. So give me Georgia on that one.